may be asking yourself, why in the world is the Department of Work and Pensions asking me for my bank statements when their own staff have stolen, and this is information from the government's own reports, over £600,000 of benefit money, which they've then put into their own accounts or pushed through claims which should not have been allowed. Where's the transparency there? Oh, sorry, DWP's made a mistake. Shh, shh, everyone, shh, shh, courts, shh, shh, bankers, shh, shh, taxpayers, shh, shh. Oh, nobody must know that DWP have made a mistake that has cost the taxpayer 4.7 million and then a further 1.7 million. Am I the only one here that's thinking they're living in a parallel universe? I recently stumbled upon this information, which I'm going to be sharing with you in this video, and I'm also going to be showing you who they intend to target next in their case reviews, and even more changes with the Fear Act. So first of all, here really is a little diagram, a screenshot from one of their reports that explains how the department actually checks entitlement and processes changes. So for example, verifying claimant information, processing changes in circumstances, targeted case reviews. I mean, it seems everyone's under a targeted case review, identity verification, and counter fraud activity. Now, the DWP say in their reports, in their guidance, that these checks are to ensure that people are getting the right amount of benefit. However, in their, I think we can all agree, nationwide targeted case review, where they have reviewed currently to date nearly 1.2 million universal credit claims, around 250,000 of them had to be corrected. Now, stay with me on this, because that equates to nearly 1 in every 5 claims had to be corrected. That's quite a lot. And I'm sorry, but I have to look at this, where they say average savings per incorrect claim, £7,949. But they haven't been specific in saying that that's because the claimant has done something wrong. But what I have to look at here is productivity. Average monthly productivity rate reviewed by the agents, because this average savings per incorrect claim is very, very ambiguous. It's not at all being specific, and I can guarantee you, if DWP thought that somebody was, being overpaid by that much every year, I think they would be very clear about that in their report. So why the bank statements? Why are they so important? Now, they say it's because they want to reduce fraud and error. And again, I hate to be the stickler, because I think statistics can always tell you one side of the story. Well, there's one word that is missing from this diagram. I don't know if anybody can notice it. Let's just go through some of it. Counter fraud and compliance directive, 1.6 billion. Targeted case reviews, 0.1 billion. Verify earnings and pensions, etc., etc. We've got prevented future overpayments, where an overpayment was identified in an advance of an overpayment, prevented future overpayments. What about the underpayments? Why are the underpayments also not shown on this table? Clearly, like they are here. No, they're not, are they? Instead, the underpayments, or where DWP staff themselves, as they admit in this report, which I'm going to show you now, have stolen £600,000 worth of benefit money, is delicately inserted into the report as follows. Instead, official error, where underpayments, so that's claimants not getting enough money or what they're entitled to, amounted to £1.2 billion. 1.2, guys. 1.2 in 2022 to 2023. So let's just remind ourselves, this is when we were still just coming out of COVID. DWP took on immense number of employees in that period. I was actually one of them at the time. How the hell have so many errors been made? 1.2 billion is a hell of a lot of money, but it gets worse. It gets worse. Here we see counter fraud and investigation. Now, let me tell you about counter fraud and investigation. Matt McCartan, you would know about that, wouldn't you? So when I used to work at DWP, before I actually signed my contract, I did disclose my self-employment as an award-winning author at the time for business and children's books. My team manager, who took a massive disliking to me, Matt McCartan, reported me to the same counter fraud and investigation department. And trust me well when I tell you this was a very big part of my anxiety and depression, because it's like being investigated by a pack of hounding dogs, the worst type of MI5 you could possibly ever imagine. The relevant point here was that I hadn't done anything wrong. I had disclosed all of my activities, my self-employment activities, and in a bid to try and find a way of firing me, because I'd taken legal action against said department for not, again, following their own policies, surprise, surprise, what we're looking at here, for disability, they tried every way they could to try and dispose of me. So I know a lot about counter fraud. Anyway, as it says here, from April 2025 to March 2026, the government's internal audit agency's counter fraud and investigation team provides counter fraud services to the department. This includes the investigation of internal fraud or other serious breaches of our standards of behaviour taken by employees, contractors and providers. Now, here is what I think, quite frankly, the disgusting comparative. Recovery action is taken at a local level, and recoveries are not recorded separately for disclosure. So if that were you committing fraud against DWP, your name would be splashed all over the newspaper. I mean, we all know, in my court case, DWP and their legal team, they couldn't help but phone up the national tabloids about me, and I'm the one that didn't even break their policies. They broke their own policies. So it's funny here, isn't it, that when their own staff steal something, that's not disclosed. But when their own staff take legal action against them for not doing what legally they should be doing, they'll disclose that. Isn't that rather interesting? Anyway, let's get back to this. Apparently, 16 investigations were completed, resulting in proven losses of £103,681, and then benefit related losses, for example, employee benefit fraud or diversion of payments. I'm just going to say at this point, how the hell anybody manages to do that, I do not know. Even if you want to buy a packet of pens in DWP, you need about 9 pieces of, you need 9 signatures, nearly 9 signatures on a piece of paper. It's the same as someone needs a laptop buying or a phone buying or whatever. It's horrendous. I have to say, it's one of the things I avoided doing at all costs, purely because of the amount of signatures you have to get. It is a nightmare. So how the hell £612,000, 715.50 was, pretty much stolen. Let's use the right words for it. Stolen, fraud, by their own employees. Can you see how this has just been popped very delicately there? Just a little bit there under the title other accountability issues. So apparently internal fraud by DWP is, such a minor, criminal act, because it is a criminal act. It's other accountability issues. But if you were to commit fraud against DWP, if you were not to disclose your income or your marriage or your living conditions, your actions would not be described as other accountability issues. This type of double standards, by the way, if you haven't noticed already, literally riles me to the point of almost no return. But luckily for organisations like DWP, I'm a very civil person when it comes to it. Now I'm just going to say what anybody watching this video is probably thinking. If I'm claiming something from DWP, I actually don't, but if you're claiming something from DWP and you have to provide your bank statements, why should DWP employees also not have to provide their bank statements in regular 4 monthly checks, just like anybody else? And I think, quite frankly, when their own employees are happily ferreting away, 600 grand there, 100 grand there. I mean, there's probably a lot more. There's probably a lot more that hasn't been published or has gone, been put under such a minority section of this accountability report that it just almost goes unnoticed. How convenient that, isn't it? And well, sometimes I just think I was just, born at the wrong time, because I've now gone on to this part. Employment tribunal settlements, 414,000. Payments to employees, contractors and others as a result of an employment tribunal settlement. But, that's not really an awful lot. It's the next one. I mean, if anyone can find the details of this next case that I'm going to show you, get in my comments. Here we go. £4.7 million. £4.7 million of taxpayers' money. Let's not forget, taxpayers' money. I pay tax, you guys pay tax, as a nice little quiet out-of-court settlement, third party to remove the liability for a commercial dispute against the department, in which the claimant received a favourable legal judgment and a 1.7 million relating to a sealed High Court settlement. Why is this all being silenced when it's the taxpayers' money? Where's the transparency there? Oh, sorry, DWP's made a mistake. Shh, everyone, shh, courts, shh, bankers, shh, taxpayers, shh. Oh, nobody must know that DWP have made a mistake that has cost the taxpayer 4.7 million and then a further 1.7 million. Am I the only one here that's thinking they're living in a parallel universe? Where in the frickin' world? And these same people have the absolute cheek to question people over their bank statements, what they spent £2.94 at One Stop, to quiz pensioners, to make disabled people walk down to the job centre, or however they get there, with 4 months of bank statements. So the work coach, that could potentially be one of these work coaches that's been ferreting away all of this, can check your bank statements. I say, bang out of order. The whole thing needs to change. And by the way, DWP, if you're watching, I think the number one change to your Fraud, Error and Recovery Act is that you now make sure that your own employees provide bank statements as well. And I think everybody would consider that to be quite a levelling of the ground. There is an awful lot more in this report, guys, but I have to say it's too much for anyone to consume in one video. So make sure you are subscribed, because there is going to be an awful lot more videos of this where we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of what is going on in DWP land. Is this, or is this not, literally double standards all the way to the bank?